All right, guys. Santino and Rob, I've sent you a co-host. Can you hear me? Santino, okay, say something.
Loud and clear.
Ah, thank you. Rob, can you hear? Oh, wait, you're a listener. All right, go ahead, Rob. I'm sending you the co-host. Wait, this is crazy. All right, Rob, go ahead. I sent you the co-host. And if you guys could please repost this space because I had to create a new one from the original one I started. Um, I don't know. It was telling me connection had lost. So, how is everybody this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're at? How are you, Rob?
I'm fine, Jenny. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I can hear you. I am fabulous. No complaints. Just doing the
It's
daily
so
gig.
it's
Go ahead.
so frustrating. It's so frustrating when the technology does what it does.
Yeah, it's weird because I came in, a few of you popped in, and then it said connection lost, reconnecting, connection lost, reconnecting, and then none of you guys could speak. So that was just bizarre. So, how are you, Santino?
I'm doing I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jenny? Hi,
I'm
Rob. How are you? I hope everybody's doing well today.
All
doing
good on my
fantastic.
end, Santino. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you so much.
And hello, Blue. I see you in here. So, everybody, we're going to get started here. Rob typically gives us about 90 minutes of his time, and that's going to work out perfectly because I've got another podcast at noon over on Telegram. So, if you guys want to join in on that, that will be with John Baxter with Anti Aging Med Beds. So, if you guys are looking for some alternative healing in regards to that, he's a great option. So, if you guys have not heard his information, I highly suggest you check it out. So I'm gonna get started here in my recording studio. I'm gonna start recording this thing. So for those of you real quickly that don't know who I am Jenny. I am the owner and the host of the Revival of America. I do probably about 4 to 6 shows a week, and Rob is a reoccurring guest on my show. So he today is going to come in here and talk a little bit about the financial world and XRP because that is his lane. I know a lot about it, but for me to come in and give you the ins and outs of it, not my lane. So I bring in the experts such as Rob Cunningham, which I absolutely adore, and he's going to be here today to talk to us about that. So if you guys want to ask him a question at any point in this podcast, please request a mic. I will open your mic. I do want to let everybody know, for those of you that want to share this podcast with anybody, or if you come into it late, we are being listened to in over 100 countries, everybody. So we are making some noise. You can follow the podcast on the podcast hosts, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. The social medias, I also post them as well. They're all verified, everybody, except for True Social and YouTube right now. I'm waiting up for those verifications. But those are Jenny Dreed Facebook, at Jenny underscore Dreed here on X, at J Dreed Rumble, at J Dreed True Social, at J Dreed Instagram, the Revival of America on Telegram, and then, of course, the Revival of America on YouTube. We just opened that one up, and we will be posting these shows over there as well for those of you that don't have any of those other options. So, with that, everybody, I would like to welcome Rob Cunningham and Santino. He is one of my co hosts. And I want to welcome all of you guys here for being here. And always thank you guys for being a part of wanting to know the truth, supporting all of us out there that are doing this in our free times. I have myself have a day gig. So, but we want to try to help get the best truth out there to all of you that we can. And like I said, I bring in the experts, and Rob is here to talk about whatever you want to talk about, Rob. I mean, where do we even start? There's so much going on.
Well, that is always the question of the day: is where do we start? What do we focus on? And I
So
think many.
I have a suggestion, if you
Okay,
don't mind.
sure.
Um, since Trump recently signed the EO regarding the strengthening of American leadership regarding the digital world, do you want to, kind of pop on that, and or do you have something else you'd like to start out with?
No, I think that's great. I think that's a brilliant place to start. Words mean things, and 100 people can hear somebody give a speech and give 100 different interpretations of what they heard, what they think he meant, what the definitions of each word were in the context of, you know, where we stand in the geopolitics. So, you know, I heard very recently Donald Trump and Secretary of the Treasury basically issue a Declaration of Independence. It's a monetary Declaration of Independence, but if we don't have that, we're just a slave state. Um, they came out in 17 seconds. I posted it on my timeline here this morning, that they're going to make the stable coin the centerpiece of making the dollar the world's dominant currency. Okay, they didn't ask Federal Reserve Chairman Powell's permission. They didn't get a authority from the Bank of International Settlements. They're making the United States Treasury, which is a function of the executive branch under President Trump, a digital dollar mechanism that is going to basically, as it stands right now, the only one authorized to be used in that fashion is the RLUSD. It's issued by Ripple, but under the stewardship of the Treasury, which is a part of the executive branch, and it's monitored on a monthly basis by the New York Department of Financial Services. So what does all that mean? It means we have a digital dollar backed by one-to-one Treasury bills, T-bills, notes, gold, whatever tier one asset is qualified to make a dollar in digital format issued by our United States Treasury. It's an asset. It's not a debt note. It's not issued out of thin air by the Federal Reserve System. There can't be any fractional reserve lending associated with the RLUSD backed by gold or bond or bills or treasuries. It's an asset instrument that will reflect or become, if you will, the motor oil, the money vehicle in the world's largest economy, which is 25% of the world's GDP. So if you stop and think about what he's saying, we're going to have an asset-backed sound digital dollar issued by the United States Treasury, full stop. We don't need a Federal Reserve. We don't need Federal Reserve notes. You know, the digital dollar that Donald Trump is talking about issuing doesn't come attached with usury interest. It's an asset. It's not a debt. So if you put all the pieces together, it's a Declaration of Independence from the Federal Reserve.
Nice. Now, I have a question. So some people are talking about the digitization here coming here in May. Some people are tripping out about it. What are your thoughts on that, about everything becoming digitized? So quote unquote, that's what they say, right? Because remember, everybody, things aren't always as they seem.
Well, the fear is oftentimes a default emotion because we've just lived in it for so long, and the media weaponizes fear to keep us in a lower state of mind and consciousness, and not to think, just to follow the rules and obey. Digital. Oh no, CBDC, China credit score. They're going to track and trace us, and it's understandable because they have weaponized Silicon Valley in partnership with the swamp and the central bankers, and the swamp people have outsourced surveillance to the Googles and the Microsofts and all the other and Facebooks to keep an eye on us and censor us and alter our news feed. So it's understandable to have very little trust in government. But go back to the definition of government. Has it been a foreign infiltrated government that Kennedy warned us about? The foreign infiltrated government that funds 55,000 NGOs through USAID and the CIA? Or is it a Trump government? Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about the deep state swamp? Or are we talking about the guy that actually beat the deep state swamp and is now commander in chief of maybe a republic that is rising again, a reconstituted republic? Is he the is he the David that came off the hill and took out Goliath, and now he's in charge? And we're still looking backwards, and we're having all of our fears about, oh my God, surveillance, deep state, they're going to track and trace us, and all of that stuff. And are we applying yesterday to the here and now? It's easy to do that, but my advice or my insight would be to understand that who there's a difference between transparency and privacy. When it's a government function and they've earned no trust, and we should trust but verify, the only way we can verify what the government officials and bankers are doing is with perfect transparency. We have to have digital transparency, a la putting the treasury on the blockchain. So we, the people, can see what the hell they're doing. It's a trust but verify no brainer. I'm not going to take any Republican or Democrat or deep state asshole's word for anything. I don't care if their lips are moving, they're lying. Show me where the money's going. Show me where the payments are going. Who are you making the payments to? Why are we paying for transgender pygmy wrestling lessons for in the Congo? Somebody explain that to me. Who voted for that? You know, we have to demand we the people cannot be self-sovereign in our lives or our communities' lives if we can't put our eyes on this so-called government that's supposed to be ours. If we operate day to day with a trust me bro attitude, oh, the government's here to help, they're telling me the truth, they would never lie to me, and I heard it on CNN and read it in a textbook, so it must be true. See, we've got to detox ourselves from all that we've lived through our entire lives and understand what's this really going to mean when we start having transparency and a smaller, leaner, more efficient government, when we can collectively be the Doge eyeballs and look at where all the money is going, just like Doge is showing us in the last 50 days. They've showed us what these people, this swamp is capable of doing. We need to never take our eyes off of what they're doing for a minute, an hour, or a day. The only way to do that is make payments transparent on an open public ledger blockchain that we can all log in on our computer right now and take a look at it. I mean, I would highly recommend anybody that's on like now, or if you're listening to this recording, you can go to xrpscan.com. You can look 24/7, 365 at every single thing that's going on the open source XRP network. You can check out validators, you can check out payments, you can check out who paid for what, when, where, how, what's going on. Now, what you're not going to see names, you're going to see wallet addresses. If you don't know the wallet address, it's going to be sometimes hard to figure out who's doing what, but you can look at everything that's going on in real time across this public ledger. You can look at the liquidity markets, you can look at the metrics, you can look at validators, you can take a look at the amendments, you can look at the health of the overall network. But we, the people, can see what's going on in our government or on this network at any time. This entire new world that we're going into is premised on the concept of trustlessness. Trust no one, prove everything, and record everything. So I might not need to know what's going on now, but in 11 months from now, we might find out that there was a lot of nefarious crap going on in the government. How do we go back and rewind the tape? How do the referees in a football game go look underneath the hood and go, okay, was he inbounds or out of bounds? Let's replay the tape. Who paid what, who, when, where, how, and why? You said this, but this doesn't match the record. Why did you send this nation $518 billion and there was no legislation attached to it? And why did your son-in-law all of a sudden become worth $100 million? Let's run an algorithm on that and figure out what happened here. I mean, if we want to own the government and be responsible for the government and have self-sovereignty for in our own lives and in our we the people government, we can only do that with perfect transparency. We can't do it in the dark. So, it might be scary to think, oh my God, I'm going to be able to see everything. And I don't know if I want everything on the blockchain and everything visible. Well, you're either going to drive down the highway with your eyes wide open and looking at the highway. You can drive down the highway with your eyes closed, singing a song and drinking a drink and hoping you don't crash into anything. If you don't have eyes on the road and you're not eyes wide open, you're not going to operate safely. Well, we're not going to operate a government safely if we can't look at everything on the road and be able to drive the car, in a clear state of mind with perfect vision. We're not going to be able to safely operate a car or a government.
Amen to that. Spot on. Thank you, Rob. Santino, did you have a question? I saw your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to, hi Jenny. I just wanted to
Hello.
piggyback off and echo what Rob was saying as well. I wanted to ask him a question. Just quickly, would everybody please go down to the purple pill that's the bottom right of the phone. Go in there and please like the space, like and share the space, and quote and share the space, and get some more people in there. If you want to request a mic, I'll be more than happy to bring you up. Just request and hands. We're going by hands today, because everybody has a voice. I think Rob is absolutely correct. I can appreciate, the trust is completely gone, and it's okay to circle back and go back at the histrionics of the past administrations and the mistakes they made. But we are at a different time right now with the Trump administration, and we need to start to trust and look deeper. We're smarter now, was what I'm saying. So we're smarter and we're looking deeper into what's going on. Where there's more accountability and et cetera, et cetera. Rob, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give people? Because we know we have, the people in their 50s, even 40s, 60s that are having problems trusting the system, because we have so many generations that are so used to having money, physical money, like bills in our hands. That's the only way they know. How do we kind of teach them or train them? I hate to use that word, but train them and teach them, give them education on the new system. That's a really good in tune. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I think we have to start with the idea of fear and not have the fear. Look, we don't need to, from this day forward, from this minute forward, trust anybody anymore. Just blindly trust. We can seek, we can ask, we can kind of trust, and we can verify and double verify. It's not just a matter of trust and don't trust anymore. It's a matter of trust and verify, look, inspect, and double check. Okay? So that concept in and of itself is extremely crucial because no one is asking anyone in America, not our parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, kids, to just blindly do anything. But we are hoping that they will humble themselves enough to want to seek, be curious, dig into the knowledge, be humble enough to ask questions and see how it works. The same people that are saying, I don't know, I don't want to do this, will don't have any problem sending a text message or clicking on a hyperlink, or checking an email or even talking on an iPhone with us on a FaceTime call. They don't have to understand all the intricate architecture of the technology to use the iPhone or to send an email or click on a hyperlink or send money via Venmo. So they first of all need to understand the why, not the what is going on, but why is all of this change happening? The why is we're reconstituting the republic and we're taking control of our money system again. We're going to have real money instead of fake money. We're going to have a real government instead of a counterfeit government. We're going to have a real republic instead of the Federal Reserve financiers and the central bankers ordering our lives through debt mechanics. They issue fake money out of thin air. They buy off the politicians. They link the use of the money to a tax code that is indecipherable. And they don't give two craps about unalienable rights, freedom, liberty, or the Declaration of Independence. They care about control. The only way we get control back is become sovereign again. And part of sovereignty is our money. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our property is supposed to not be taxed. There's not supposed to be a lien on our property. And we didn't have a lien on our property until 1913. Now we're going back to that era. External Revenue Service, tariffs, stable coins, our own monetary system, our U.S. Treasury in charge, exiting the Federal Reserve stage left, getting rid of the Soroses, exposing the corruption, prosecuting the, all of these things take time, but the Epstein Island, the P. Diddy's, the Washington, D.C., the J6ers, the 9/11 people, everybody that has attacked us with bioweapons and leveraged us, milked this cow to emaciated state and near death. That's behind us. To reconstitute the republic, we're going to have to all learn some new skills. We're going to have to take on things on our own shoulders instead of outsourcing every little boo-boo to every third party known to man. When we just constantly outsource our safety and our health and our food supply and our medical supply and our kids' education and, our military, I guess we're going to Afghan for 20 years because our government's here to help us. They're here to keep us safe. Weapons of mass destruction, don't you know? I mean, we're either outsourcing our lives and responsibility or we're going to insource our lives and responsibilities. And the greatest, what do they say? The root of all evil is the lust of money, the love of money, the worship of money. The number one thing we have to do is cut off the mother's milk to the slave masters, the food source to the slave masters that enslave us in debt and taxes and regulation. Well, that's the monetary system. By taking it back, we cut off and crimp the food supply to the beast, the creature from Jekyll Island that has been enslaving us since 1913. So that why is so important. Why are we doing this? Then the question, when a person can understand the aha, okay, I generally understand that. Then they have a very simple decision to make. Nah, I'm going to stay put. I'd rather be a slave. Or, okay, what do I need to learn next? You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. You're either a slave or you're a free person. We're either on the Federal Reserve debt system or we're on the American Republic, sovereignty system. You ain't in both. You can't be in both. And you can stick your head in the sand for 25 years if you want to and hope that we, stay in Kansas, the old Wizard of Oz analogy. Hope that we just, skip down the road and everything will magically fix itself, or we wake up to the new reality and the new responsibilities that we're all going to have to learn. Um, I, to me, it's exciting. It's just like I wake up every day like it's Christmas morning. I'm a kid running down to see what's underneath the tree because there's something new, some new development, executive order, action, freedom. We're tearing down something from the old world and building something up and showing a shiny new object in the new republic. And every day I have just this optimistic joy, a quest for knowledge, and a curiosity to come on calls like this and learn from everybody in a space like this. And and just unite. Look at how we're coming together in a united front because we're learning. We're humble enough to learn and ask questions. We don't act like we know it all. We don't have all the answers. But together, united we stand, and arrogant, pissy, and divided we fall. And we got to come together.
Amen to that. And everybody, it's like Rob says, he's excited. It's like Christmas Day every day, because there's so many great things happening, and there's a lot of people out there that are focusing on the negative. So try not to do that. Take the big wins, little wins, medium wins, whatever they are, but we are winning. We are really winning a lot in different avenues. Just because we may not be seeing everything in the forefront, we are winning. So please, there's so much doom and gloom out there right now, and people turning on Trump that may say, well, they say they were MAGA supporters, and now you see him turning. You just have to be careful, everybody. Your discernment has to kick in more than ever right now. So to stay positive, everybody, because a lot of great things are happening. All right, Blue, your hand was up. Go ahead, my friend. And everybody, real quickly, Blue, before you go, if everybody can repost this space, because I had to restart the space because I had connection problems. And if you want to request a mic, I'm happy to unmute your mic. And then if you want to raise your hand to ask a question to Rob, please feel free to do so. So go ahead, Blue.
Thanks, Jenny. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Santino. You've been doing really well with all the chats you've been in. So good for you, brother. Rob, I've learned so much from you. The most important thing that I feel that you bring to your knowledge of sharing with the financial is that you're spiritually driven, godly spiritually driven. So my question to you is kind of not going to be tied necessarily with the financial side, but more of a, in my opinion, of what you think. You follow the Q drops and what have you. And like I've been doing this for 5 years as well. So your knowledge just helps solidify everything I've learned. So I appreciate that. But in the last two posts were Protect DNA and Ascension. Could you give your opinion and how or what your thoughts are on that, and then how that ties with the financial system? Because I know there's a tie somehow with that, even including health. So Rob, we appreciate you. I appreciate you. I'm very grateful. Anybody that's listening to this should really pay attention to what Rob says. And then y'all need to listen to Jenny and Santino. Both of them bring explicit research to you. Jenny brings the people with the knowledge. She knows as well, but she lets people come in that are a little bit better. But Rob, you are on fire when it comes to the financial work. So I'm kind of curious what you feel on the spiritual side of what I just asked. God bless you, my brother.
Wow. Well, thank you, brother. I absolutely love this topic because they're indivisible between the two. Um, let me start with you know the law book, the Bible, the scriptures. If you understand and study them extremely well, you'll know that about a little more than 40% of the law book is all about our relationship with money and materialism. It's all about what is it? What does it represent? It's a tool. It's a trust system. It's it's how we share resources back and forth with one another to live our lives or live our purpose. And sharing things back and forth, whether it's a talent or a skill or farm products or building skills or medical services for educational services, to trade property back and forth between people is commerce. And we're put here to create, multiply, prosper, reign as kings and queens with sovereignty. That's my belief. Okay? We were created for a purpose to live freely, to multiply, to live, love, share, give, serve, all of those things freely as self sovereign individuals. Well, how do you do that? If we want to multiply and create, we multiply and create as a society when I don't have to try to be the school teacher, the farmer, the airline pilot, and the heart surgeon. I can't do it all. I can do my lane, you can do your lane. Everyone in the community can come together with all the various different talents and abilities and skills. And then there has to be some kind of a mechanism to allow us to translate, if you will, you know, my gifts and talents and your gifts and talents and everybody else's gifts and talents in some kind of medium of exchange where we can interoperate and grow as a community. Home builders, school teachers, haircut people, musicians that can sing and dance, landscape artists, whatever the case may be. We have to have a trust system. And in that trust system, we exchange elements of our life. What does that mean? Property is just an extension of what was inside of me or inside of you. It's a manifestation. We have to think it, we have to then exert labor. So our creativity or our thought process plus our labor produces this thing called property. It can be intellectual property, it can be a business, it can be a haircut, it can be a whatever. It can be a service like flying an airplane, but that's property. Okay. We're supposed to have unalienable rights to our property. So if property is an extension of our life and our effort, we're not supposed to be taxed. Our life and our time and our services and the property that we exchange with one another, that is my property and your property. We've come up with a system for exchanging property back and forth. The problem is the other side has come up with a system for tracking and tracing every single aspect of our lives and everything that we trade and everything that we build and everything that we create and putting a first claim on it and saying, half that's mine. The hell it is. The hell it is. What then, in essence, they're doing is saying, I have a claim on your life. We've completely reversed things upside down. Instead of having a government that is an extension of us, that does what we ask it to do per the Constitution with very limited powers, we've been deceived, divided, dumbed down, zombified, entertained ourselves to death, go to the football games and the hockey games and the baseball games and the theater and the Netflixes and eat this stuff they call food and just busy ourselves and work ourselves and comfort ourselves into toadstools. And those that run the money system have us right where they want us, compliant slaves. Ignorant of who we are, whose we are, what our rights are, what property is, what normal is, why we have to work, through May the 15th before we get to keep our first penny every year, because the first 4.5 months of the year is the government's. The hell it is. We're just all now starting to wake up to that. So how do we have to define, what is our property? What are our rights? What's our jurisdiction? What's our standing, agency, and authority? If we don't know what our rights are, we don't have any. Case in point, education, the most expensive education delivered on earth is to the American student, and their rank is dead last. We're a bunch of, they drain us of our money and train us to be stupid idiots with every single thing in the world other than knowledge, wisdom, and critical thinking. So it's so important to understand that the tie-in between our life and who we are and our values and trust and money, they can't be separated. They're all part of the same thread. When we start clipping that thread and separating them and saying, oh, well, money and taxes don't have anything to do with your health or your kids' education or the job that you get or your money or your satisfaction. No, it's all interconnected. We just can't cut this up into 7 different pieces and compartmentalize it. When you do that, we start to fall into the divide and conquer trap. Oh, well, your bloodline's wrong. Oh, you're black. Oh, you're white. Oh, you're gay. Oh, you're straight. Oh, you're Christian. Oh, you're Muslim. Oh, you have white privilege. Oh, well, toxic masculinity, huh? Well, it's got to be true because CNN and Fox News told me it was true. So here we go down the damn rabbit hole. We're so damn confused. We don't know who the hell we are. We don't know who to trust. We've been lied to our whole lives, and just shut up, don't ask any questions, and keep paying your taxes. Well, this whole scam operation can't continue unless they have the funding to continue it. And the IRS and the banking system and the tax laws and the regulation and the propagandizing and the ignorance that's trained into us from childbirth through today is that mechanism that they keep going and lubricating to put the George Bushes and the Barack Obamas and the Joe Bidens and everybody into office, just to keep the whole Ponzi scheme going. So at the end of the day, money is a trust system. It has to be trustworthy. It has to be a store of value, a unit of account, and a medium of exchange. And money is supposed to be between two parties, me and Jenny, Jenny and Santino, Santino and a friend of his. There's supposed to be two parties in every transaction, and both parties have to consent for there to be a transaction. Santino's supposed to have your unalienable rights to say yes or no, to consent, yes or no, to contract, yes or no. There's not supposed to be three parties in every transaction. An invisible third party, an inflator, a debaser, a money printer, a taxer, uh, a lawyer, an expert, a specialist, an imputed tax, an invisible tax, 4 million pages of an IRS tax code attached to every transaction that you do. There's not supposed to be strings attached in a system that's supposed to be a two-party sharing of property back and forth, free without force system that lets me and you share or not share whenever we feel like it. That's what
So
that's what unalienable means. So
So basically, Rob, we're gonna, like I tell my audience, we're getting rid of the middleman, everybody. Our workforce is going to change in a significant amount. So we are getting rid of the middle person. Right, Rob?
that is, you
The
know what?
middleman.
Well, that's exactly correct, Jenny. That's exactly my tweet this morning that I posted out. It's up in the jumbotron, and I titled it "Connect the Cheap XRP Dots." But what does that even mean? Let's go through this, because this ties into faith. It ties into unalienable rights. It ties into our agency, our status, our jurisdiction, and our sovereignty. It ties into all of this, but payments are a human right. The ability for me and you to exchange things back and forth, whether it's I give you chicken eggs and you give me, you fix my roof, or I teach your kids and you give me health care, or I fix your horse and put shoes on his feet while you know, let me farm 50 acres of your land. Whatever the trade or value exchange happens to be, there's so much abundance. There is no scarcity. There ought to be absolute freedom of choice without force for any two people to contract with anybody for any reason, as long as it's legal. As long as I'm not hurting you, I'm not stealing from you. I'm not. As long as it's consensual and legal, there should be freedom to exchange value back and forth without having to turn in a permission slip to the government and a report card and say, these are all the things I did the last 365 days. And I hope I counted it really well, so you can take your lump first. And please don't shoot me if I got my paperwork wrong. Please don't put me in prison if I didn't self-report on all of my property and all of my value exchanges, so you can take your cut. Doesn't sound very biblical to me. Doesn't sound, you know. So if
Rob,
payment, hold on, let me just finish this real quick. Payments are a human right. Payments are between two parties. Payment middlemen are thieves. Payment transparency exposes thieves. Thieves hate transparency. Thieves seek to destroy transparency. Thieves must deceive to thrive and survive. Thieves love fractional reserve lending because they can create money out of thin air. Click a button and boom, all of a sudden from nothing comes $2 trillion. Thieves invented central banking. If we don't get rid of central banking and the way in which money has worked our whole lives, we're never going to reclaim our sovereignty. That's what
Amen.
we're going through right now.
Amen to that. Hey, Blue, real quickly, I've got some hands here raised. I'm going to circle back to
You go ahead. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, no, no,
Well,
no.
I
Go ahead,
hope,
dear.
Also, I'll circle back to you real quickly.
well,
But
Jenny,
go ahead, Santino.
Jenny, just real quick. Blue, did I answer your question? Kinda.
Most definitely. I was just more curious. I'll elaborate at the end on the subconscious and how that affects that. And everybody else also follow that girl that's Trader Girl up the top. Amen on her stuff. God bless.
Thanks.
I just want to jump in as well. What Rob is probably talking about too, just to add on, is when you have like a license to operate as a mechanic, a hairstylist, you have that middleman. So you have to pay for your license. You have to renew this license, and that money goes there. And if you don't renew your license, that license will be removed from you. I mean, that's the middleman. You always have to pay the middleman. You're at point A. To get to point C, you have to go through point B, and point B is the middleman. That's the thief. That's the one that will dictate your future, what is going to happen next. And if you don't deal with B, which is the middleman, you can't move forward at anything, whether it's a car, licensing plates, etc., etc. So we have to get rid of the middleman. We have to go back to basics where we're just dealing with each other on a one trade. We trade amongst each other. We don't need a middleman anymore. Thank you.
Amen to that. Real quickly, everybody, if you guys have a question, I have unmuted a few mics. If you have a question for Rob, please raise your hand so I can go in some kind of order here. So I've got Dark Phaedrus. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Rob your question. And then after that, you can go ahead and go, Kate. I see that your hand is up. So go ahead, Darth.
Uh, Thank you for giving me the time, Rob. I've been listening to you for a long time, and I agree with everything that you say, and I really appreciate your message and all the work that you're doing. I've had my hand up for a little bit, and you cover so many good topics so quickly. But a while back, you were talking about the dangers of fear, and I just wanted to back you up on that. That was a hard lesson I had to learn in my own personal life about the difference between fear and faith, and that how it changes the world around me, around all of us. Um, and I had to learn the spiritual lesson that our origin is usually our destination, as far as when it comes to ideas. So that we attach ourselves to an idea, and then we get carried to the destination of the idea. So the choice that we all have to make every day and every moment is, are we going to choose faith, or are we going to choose fear? Because a person who has faith, it has tranquility, but the person who has fear is in a state of turmoil because they're afraid. They think they need to do stuff and move quickly. But a person with faith can hold their position or move to a new position calmly. And then the tranquility or the turmoil, then those ideas lead to tranquility, or sorry, they lead to clarity or confusion. So if you have faith, it gives you clarity. And then you can see the world around us clearly, and we can make decisions and intelligently. But if we went with fear, then that gives turmoil, and then that leads to confusion, and you can't see to make the decision. So a lot of people, because they're in a state of fear, when they see the new system being set up, they can't see it clearly for what it is, and they think the world hasn't changed, and then they make bad decisions. And then the clarity then
Man, brother,
reveals a
you said
world
it
full of
so
prosperity and abundance.
you said it so beautifully and so perfectly, and the key point is it's not just knowledge. It's a combination of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom to
Exactly.
to apply that understanding in real world scenarios in this thing called life. And the example I love to give people is, look, you can have all the faith in the world, but if you don't understand the laws, faith alone is not enough. We have the measure of faith, okay? But you can read a book on airplanes and have faith that you're going to go fly it and go jump in the airplane and try to fly it, and you're going to crash because you don't understand the law, all the laws. Reading the book alone without understanding the principles, without understanding meteorology, lift, weight, thrust, drag, hydraulics, electrical, communications, how you fly, how you flight plan, how you do all the things that are necessary. You can't just read a book and go fly an airplane. We can't just have faith and then go into a boardroom or go into a town hall or go into a government building or go into a courtroom or try to raise a family just on faith alone. Faith is critical, but faith opens the door to believing that there are universal laws, there are truths, there are indivisible, indestructible laws and principles that constructed this world together. There is reciprocity, there is love, there is forgiveness, there is quantum mechanics, there is quantum entanglement, there is the faith. If we have the faith of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. But what does that even mean? You have to have faith in the laws and the power and the agency that is available to us. But if we're not taught those, if we don't really understand what those laws are, we can have 20 different degrees of faith. We can have good faith, strong faith, weak faith, broken faith, intermittent faith, no faith, conditional faith. I mean, we can we can go all up and down the spectrum of what kind of faith we have, but the faith is based on our knowledge of the ability to apply laws and principles that are immutable, indestructible, and indivisible. So I put it this way to people. I believe there's a lawgiver that created this joint, and the laws and principles keep it operational, and it ain't broke, and he doesn't need us to fix it. Okay? There's a law giver, there was a law teacher, perfect teacher. There's a law administrator, a Holy Spirit that's available to us 24/7. There's a law book. And then the only piece that's missing is me and you. We have to be a law student. We can be good students, crappy students, no student. We can never show up. We can never humble ourselves. We can never seek with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength the understanding of those laws of the universe, the laws of the law giver, teacher, Holy Spirit, law book. We can ignore it all, dismiss it, say it's just a bunch of idiots and a bunch of crooks and a bunch of knuckleheads. And look at all of these stupid religious people that were self serving and that monetized faith and took money and took advantage of people. And because there's a bunch of assholes that did that, then there can't be a God and there can't be any laws and there can't be any principles. Why bother? I'm just going to go lean on my own understanding and wing it myself because there's a whole bunch of assholes that monetize religion and sold memberships and diddled with kids. And because the religious industry sucks, I'm not going to look for laws and principles. That, unfortunately, is where so many people get caught. We check the box, we burn the candles, we ring the bells, we go to church for an hour on Sunday, arguing and moaning, bitching, yelling at our kids before church, and then we walk into the thing and, oh, how are you? Praise Jesus. How's your day going, brother? And you get back in the car on the way home and you start cussing and foul mouthing and fighting with your kids and not talking to your wife for 2 days because you're angry and resentful and pissed off and petty. But we check the box. We went to church for an hour. I mean, religion and faith don't have anything to do with each other. Nothing to do with each other. One's a man-made construct, and one is a living, breathing, working, operational relationship with that thing I call God. So that's where I come from.
Thank you, Rob. Did that answer your question, Darth?
It did. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. All right, Kate, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Rob your question.
Hey, Rob, and hey, thanks for bringing me up. I love how you say uh, uh, say things, Rob. I think you have an incredible gift. I am I look to how to do things, how to accomplish things, and maybe you or someone else on this space has some insight. And this is in relation to taxes and property taxes, specifically home property taxes. I live in a state that has pretty high property taxes, and I actually know some people who are on Social Security, and they have to pay approximately 20% of their $900 a month Social Security for property taxes. And if they don't, they get charged 25% interest. And this is for a double for a city and a county. This is totally uh, uh, uncalled for. It's usury. And people lose their property, their family loses their inheritance, all because of property taxes. So, as they have paid off their house and have worked their whole lives to accomplish uh, a home and having it in their name, they lose everything because of taxes. And I am the type of person who will call a congressman or will do things that and address things that I think that are unfair. And I don't have a clue as how to address this or to change this. Do you have some insights? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I had to unmute myself there. Um, no, thank you for sharing that story. And I think it's one that we can all relate to. The system is corrupt. The system is broken. This, I mean, if we understand that the central banking system is a wealth extraction system, okay, the founding fathers of central banking from the top down in the 1600s, look, they're avowed Marxist, they're atheists. The Rothschild family, Roth means red and Child means shield. So back in the Jewish German days of when the Rothschilds came into creating their banking dynasty, they are at heart Marxist and atheist, and that means the ends justify the means. So the founding fathers of central banking had the exact opposite ideology of the founding fathers of our Declaration of Independence. One believed in a God with immutable rights and laws and unalienable freedom to keep our property and reign as kings and queens and not have a government, not have a central bank, not have a central church, not have a not be slaves, to be free men and women. The central bankers who imposed themselves on us in 1913 come from a completely different dark side where the ends justify the means. They're the gods of the world. They're going to create this quote unquote banking system, install it on America, and suck all of our wealth out of us through control, taxation, regulation, and hired hitman, otherwise known as politicians and regulators. So, to unwind that system of property taxation and usury interest rates and currency that has usury interest attached to it versus dollars that are actually just assets per our constitution, we're not supposed to have this type of taxation, period, end of story, full stop. How we fix it in the interim, they can't just immediately erase, 100, what's it, 112 years now since the Federal Reserve or Act of 1913. It's been 112 years we've been living with this system. So we have to unwind it. I think it's going to be unwound pretty damn fast this year. But that is just that's a Ponzi scheme within the Ponzi scheme within the overall big overarching Ponzi scheme. I've read stories that said that the reason properties have gone up and become so unaffordable for so long is basically what's happening is these big investment banks are they continually raise property values. They continually, based on inflating property values, they know that they're going to get a certain percentage of revenue from property taxes. So what they've done is they've said, okay, this county or these counties are going to have this much real estate. It's going to go up 7%. the income taxes that are going to be, the property taxes that are going to come from next year's increase in real estate prices is going to be this amount of money. And then they go ahead and count that as a receivable and leverage it 20 times. I've heard as high as $7 to $10 trillion has been spent on leveraging anticipated accounts receivables from property taxes that are coming from counties. So this is how invisible and perverted and wicked and leveraged our financial system can become when the masters of smart and the wizards of banking and the owners who think they can just steal anything they want and make up rules out of thin air can just create taxes. Just like there's fiat money, they create fiat statutes, fiat codes, fiat rules, fiat ordinances. What's tearing all of this down is basically the Chevron doctrine, the Chevron ruling from the Supreme Court that basically said you can't do that, EPA. You can't just make crap up and lord over people's property and take their property because of a darter snail or wetlands or whatever damn reason that you come up with. The only way laws can be made is directly through elected representatives. They can't outsource this perpetual regulatory hell to these third party agencies in the swamp who then make our lives a living hell. On that ruling alone, I think Doge is doing what Doge is doing. President Trump is cutting down the government. We're getting rid of the central bank. We're reconstituting the republic. And ultimately, we're going to get rid of this godforsaken tax thievery system that is causing the strife that you just explained.
Well, I would
How,
like to, if I may, I would like to add to that. People who are up in their years have been forced to pay their retirement into Social Security. They've been forced to do that. It's been taken out of their paycheck. Now they are at a point to where that is all they have. That's all the income they have. And that is provided by the government, yet the government comes against them and takes almost every dime that they have to live on for their own real estate property. That needs to change. It seems to me that if they are only receiving what the government is giving, then the government should not be allowed to take so much of it out, no matter whether it be city, county, or state or federal. That there needs to be a limit. And when they take almost everything that they have through property taxes or uh, 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 through interest rates because they're delinquent on that. That needs to change. I do not know how to change that. Like I said, am a go-getter. I will call my local representative or my federal representative and try to change things. And I have been successful at doing that in the past on a few items. And I do not know how to address this. I was wondering if maybe somebody might have some insight.
well, Kate, I would say a couple of things. A, I applaud you. Thank you for being involved. Thank you for being engaged. Thank you for caring about these seniors that are being abused and the highway robbery and the thievery that's taking place. I would just suggest one thing. We are the government. There is no they. Change the wording to how are we going to stop this instead of how are they going to stop it. If we keep going back to them for permissions and asking and begging, we're assuming that they have the actual right and the jurisdiction to tax us and steal from us. The hell they do. And what Trump is doing is he's not asking for permission. He knows what his agency and standing, he knows what the Constitution allows. He also knows the Declaration of Independence said that if any time a government becomes destructive of our unalienable rights, we the people have the right to set it aside and start anew. The only laws that were in place for 11 years, the first 11 years we were in a nation, from the signing of the 1776 Declaration of Independence, was the Uniform Code of Military Justice found in the Army, Navy, and Marines. That was the law in place when 56 founders signed the Declaration of Independence, that had the phraseology in the Declaration of Independence that acknowledged where our rights come from, acknowledged the rights that we have, and acknowledged our right to remove and replace a government that turns destructive of our unalienable rights and start anew. That's not going to happen through a Supreme Court ruling, who is nothing but a corporation, sub corporation of the corporation. Everything in our everything in this perverted corporation that became bought and paid for and owned and operated by the central banks, it's being shut down, it's being reorganized, it's being bankrupted, and we're reconstituting a republic. Some people get it, some people don't. Some are awake, some are just now waking up. Some want to mock us and call us idiots and conspiracy theorists because we're talking like this. But we're either a free sovereign nation or we're controlled and owned by the central banks. It's one or the other.
Amen.
It's one or the other. And so we all know on this call how it's supposed to be. And we also know we got deceived, divided, destroyed, devoured by liars and thieves and secrecy and deception and assholes. Well, we're waking up and putting the assholes back in their box. We're dismissing the assholes from our lives. We're telling them to go pound sand. Stop taking my property. You're not teaching my kid that shit. You're not putting that poison in my food. I'm not obeying your dumbass rules anymore. You don't lord over me. Get your ass in the airplane and go back to the city of London and go play diddlies with your Rothschild buddies, or go back to your Ivy League school somewhere. But you're not in my life anymore, and you're not ruling and regulating and raining hell over me anymore. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Amen,
And
Rob.
we're just in the process. We're all having to collectively come to this point of courage where we don't live with fear. We don't ask and beg on a bended knee, kissing the ring and asking the king if we could keep a little bit more of our property, please, sir. In that assumption, you're assuming they have lordship over you, and they don't. They only do if we give it to them or allow them to keep it. So we are the government. We, the people, are the government. We, the people, are the educators. We, the people, are the media. We, the people, are the creators. We, the people, are the owners. If we own the country and we're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, what does that mean? Trump's recognizing that the oil rights and the drilling rights and the intellectual property and the 6,500 patents that were stolen from Nikola Tesla, those are we the people property and ownership. If we had diamonds and oil and rare earth minerals and patents and unbelievable wealth in this country that we all should be able to benefit from, we should be giving everyone a dividend check every year from the wealth of the country, instead of operating under this hoax of scarcity. And our betters from London and the bankers and the intelligentsia in Washington, D.C., telling us what we can and can't do. Screw all of that. But
Amen. And you see right here with what Rob is saying, and I say it to my audience often, Trump and his team and everybody behind him, they're dismantling not just the government, but they're dismantling our workforce, everybody. So when he says we're draining the swamp is big, far, wide, and twisted. So thank you for that great description, Rob. Real quickly, for those of you that do have a question, I have unmuted some mics here. I want to acknowledge Rubber Duck is in the house. How are you, my friend? Please raise your hand because I have unmuted some mics, but I'm going to call on Jill Jill real quick. Do you have a question for Rob? I know you requested a mic, but do you have a question?
Hi. Yes. Hi, Rob. Hi, Jenny. Thank you for
hello,
hosting.
Hello.
hi.
Hey. So I did notice. I mean, the last few days, obviously, there's a lot happening with silver mining. Northern Dynasty Minerals has gone up almost 100% in the last 3 days. I don't know if you've been watching that, but that's been one thing that I know a lot of people that I know and people that I help invest are watching. And my question is it the silver that they're mining and the things that will happen with these mining companies, is that going to back, I mean, obviously a lot of the patents that are coming out, that we will be working on, but it is also backing some of the XLM, like how, I just didn't know how that works and how that plays into the things that this silver that they're mining, the copper, the precious metals, all of that with Northern Dynasty Minerals, how that plays into XLM. So I was wondering if you were familiar with that and what was happening.
Well, look, I know there's a lot of speculation as to what the collateral backing might be, what's going to be the actual and intrinsic value behind different tokenomics or token projects. There's a lot of speculation. It's fun to talk about. We know that as of today, there's really only two tier one assets in the world. That one tier one asset has been the US dollar, and the other one is they just recently, I think it was 2018 or 2019, they made gold. They moved it from a tier three to a tier one asset, which means you can have um, you can borrow up to 100% of the value of that asset, 1 to 1. Okay. Um, what's going to back XLM or H bar or XDC, or XRP? Um, Again, what we're talking about here is not only functionality of the token, that every token is designed for a purpose, whether it's smart contracts, whether it's supply chain management, whether it's cross-border payments. Um, there's a purpose for that tech enabling technology. And then there is a coin, a token, a motor oil, a component to each of these different blockchains. Now, the question then becomes what's the value of that token? Is it a service? Is it a efficiency? Is it a scarcity? Is it something that's going to be backed by T-bills, treasuries, notes, backed by gold, backed by silver, backed by mineral rights, backed by platinum, backed by diamonds, backed by oil? There's a lot of mechanics involved here, but there has to be some level of, if it's going to be used as currency and valued without having blind trust being a part of the equation, then there has to be some kind of a standard, a unit of account, a store of value, and a medium of exchange. It can't be my opinion and your opinion and their opinion. It can't be JP Morgan's manipulation and shorting the price of silver, by $7 billion a year just to keep the price suppressed, and it's manipulated. There have to be standards of that unit of account. The reason gold and silver have always been universally respected is that, you know, an ounce is an ounce is an ounce is an ounce. We even have a coinage act, for God's sakes. It tells exactly how many grams of gold and how many grams of silver have to back a dollar. So there has to be a unit of account so that that medium of exchange can be trusted and recognized and inspected by all parties involved. An ounce of gold ought to be an ounce of gold in Turkey, Iran, Japan, or America. How silver is going to play into a 1 to 1 backing or utilization within a specific blockchain project, I have no idea. I wish I could answer that for you, um, but I just can't. I don't know. Is it going to be needed in a world of growth and abundance and new technologies and quantum computers and artificial intelligence and electric cars and vertical takeoff and landing vehicles and all kinds of innovations that are just med beds? I think the demand for silver as our economy grows around the world and we unlock the abundance, I think the demand for silver alone is going to explode the price of silver. I think global growth and demand by getting out from under this debt slavery system ought to be all the impetus someone ought to, focus on if they're interested in owning silver as an investment. And I would say that if somehow or another silver gets linked to XLM, that's just icing on the cake. But there's enough, economic analysis and an opportunity to justify, reasonably that silver is probably a damn good investment when we get this debt slavery off of us, that standalone by logic by itself ought to be enough to get people excited about silver.
Amen. Thank you, Rob. Okay, let's see. A real quick question from Jersey. She wants to know if you can touch on the April 2nd Day of Liberation that Trump keeps talking about. And then after Rob, you answer that, Tina, you can go at Tina Q. Your mic is unmuted. You can ask Rob your question. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I look, I'm as excited as everybody else is. I think, they have President Trump and the Commerce Secretary, everyone have boldly set expectations that it's going to be a big day. And, it's part negotiation with these tariffs, right? We have been getting screwed by a lot of countries. We've made very bad trade deals. I think people in the DC have sold themselves out where, we have to pay tariffs on all the stuff that we send overseas, but they don't have to pay any tariffs to send stuff over here. It's just been horrific. The best you can say is these people were incompetent in negotiating trade deals, but we know it was far worse than incompetence. It was corruption. It was self-dealing. It was being paying the politicians behind. It's the whole mechanism that'll take an AOC out of a bartending job and make her worth $28 million today. That whole system of behind the scenes, opaque corruption is what Trump is dealing with the external revenue service versus the internal revenue service. What he's saying is, okay, new sheriff in town, new rules, you're all going to pay. You're going to pay 50%, you're going to pay 20%, you're going to pay 25%. All you people have been given carte blanche free access to come into the largest market in the world and sell your stuff. We don't charge you anything to come in and have access to all the customers at the world's biggest Costco, known as the United States of America. Y'all come on in and dump anything you want on us. But if we try to export and sell stuff in their countries, oh, that's going to be a 20% tariff. That's going to be a 25% tariff. Well, Trump's saying the hell it is. So now he's saying it's going to be at a minimum reciprocal. You charge us 10, we'll charge you 10. You charge us 20, we'll charge you 20. And he's starting from there. And by starting from there, he has all the leverage in the world he could ever need. These other countries, if they were to have to pay a 20% tariff, they would go bankrupt. Canada can't do it. We take away our foreign aid and the Canada's deficit would explode. They would not be able to function if we weren't subsidizing them with our trade deficit to them. They get to dump anything they want on us. We then pay the income taxes and they don't. We're either going to have an external revenue service or an internal revenue service. We're either going to be pregnant or not pregnant. President Trump is not here to come in and leave a legacy of setting up both an external revenue service and an internal revenue service. Right? We've already, how fast he's going to move, how much he's going to disclose. Are taxes for the first $150,000 a year going to go to zero by executive order so that 85% of Americans don't have to pay income tax anymore? I don't know. I mean, we can all wildly speculate about what's going to happen on April the 2nd, but it seems to me he understands a lot of people are tapped out, they're dry, the liquidity is horrible, inflation is horrible, that it's hard to even keep the lights on and pay the bills, and people are losing hope. And this system is, in desperate need of an immediate injection of liquidity and hope, and opportunity and regulatory relief financial relief, regulatory relief, a lot of hope, and expectations are high. So I'm going to be there with, I'm going to wake up Tuesday morning or whatever day, April the 2nd is, with a big, bright, bushy tail and wide eyes. And I hope, my expectations won't disappoint me.
Thank you, Rob, for that. Okay, Tina Q, you can go next, and then we'll go with Yogi Bear, and then Michael, and then there will be DeLuca and Drew. I think it's Drew Middleton. Okay, so go ahead, Tina Q. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Rob your question.
Hi, Rob. I have two questions for you. One, I want your opinion, if you have one, on Paula White. I know Trump puts people out front and center for a reason. And my second question is, I heard you speaking on Captain Kyle's chat the other night, and I have a friend in here, along with me in the space, whose husband reads the Wall Street Journal. We both have XRP. Hers is on Coinbase and mine is on Uphold. And Wall Street Journal had a big article about being hacked. I heard you speak about something like a credit card. And I was wondering, how do you get that and put your crypto on that, your XRP? And how easy is it? Thank you so much for everything you do. God bless.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for those questions. Yeah, the Tangem wallet, it's Tangem. They've got a little biometric credit card. It looks like a credit card. It's not Bluetooth. It's not, passwords and that kind of stuff, but it's a biometric card that you can set up, and then you have to have that biometric card, if you will, that with a chip in it near your phone in order for you to be able to buy, sell, or trade or move your crypto around. Um, that's just one I like personally. I'm not necessarily recommending it. I don't sell them. I don't get any commissions off of them. I like it a lot. That's the one that I use. Um, you know, I don't take much credence in anything the Wall Street Journal publishes, so that's not a news source for me. Um, fear and hackability and this is a group of people that have for 7 or 8 years, tried to scare the pants off of everybody about cryptocurrency and digital assets and steer people into two big arenas, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and everything else, they've done the character assassination job on, and they've ignored it. Um, as far as, can Uphold as a centralized exchange be hacked? Of course, it could be. I think of the exchanges that I'm aware of, it's probably the finest one out there from a standards, from a leadership, from a security platform. Doesn't mean it's the cheapest, but I don't really care about that. I'm not a big day trader, so that doesn't bother me. But I do know that Uphold is a institutional partner with Ripple, and Ripple is playing a significant role in the unwinding the global monetary fraud system the world over. It's one of the reasons it's been under attack and been so savage for so long. And so just character assassinated. I believe that the decentralized ledger blockchain with transparency and accountability, this whole railing system that has been put in place since 2012, more than 12 years, uh, is the direction that the new monetary system is going to go into and flow over. Um, so that being the case, I take a lot of comfort in Ripple doing its homework, doing its scrutiny. Uphold was the only exchange that never delisted XRP during the whole lawsuit with the SEC. Um, I've talked to the owners and CEO and CFO, and I've done a lot of work. I'm a client of Uphold. That's just me personally. I'm comfortable with Uphold. Um, I would say that keep most of the good majority of your assets on a cold wallet. Just keep what you might need to trade, or a minimal amount on your exchanges, whether it's, I'm personally not a fan of Coinbase, never have been, don't like anything about them. Um, that's just me. But I hope I answered your question.
Where do I get that card from and how easy is it to put it on there?
Super simple, easy. It's click, click, click. You get let's see, who helped me get it was a lady by the name of Linda P. Jones. If you'll look her up on X, Linda, Linda Jones, uh, she's got a link in her profile on X or on her website. She's also got tutorial videos about it, and she explains it. Linda's a dear friend, known her for 5 years. Former Wall Street investment banker, really super smart lady. She's done a couple of thousand podcasts. She's a teacher extraordinaire, and she really helps people understand a lot of this new monetary system and digital asset stuff. But she's got a great, just go there as a source of learning. Just go, I would start there to do your homework. She recommended Tangent to me. I did my homework and it satisfied me. So I went from the Ledger to the Tangent, and I got a lot of my learning and understanding from her.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you. And what about Paula White, real quick?
Oh, that's right. I knew there was another question. Look, I probably have an exceptionally unhealthy disdain for religiosity, for pomp and circumstance, for um, monetization of faith, the selling of memberships. Jesus didn't come to create a religion. He didn't. He just he actually don't. He's taught us don't be like those people. The ritualistic burning of the candle and the ringing the bells and handing out blankets and collecting the membership has no power. Relationship has power. Membership in an organization, repeating the lines, memorizing without understanding and without wisdom and without application is ritualistic. It's tribalism. It's checking the box, but it's not empowering. And oftentimes religions are about the bottom line, the P&L, the process, the membership, the books, the likes, the clicks, the ministry, the children's ministry, the overseas mission trips, and it's just faith is an individual one-on-one thing. It's a one-to-one relationship thing. Membership and those that sell membership and market memberships and monetize themselves to it just rubbed me the wrong way. So I don't know. I cannot speak to the nature of Trump's relationship with Paula White. I can just tell you she is not my cup of tea.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, Yogi Bear, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. And then after Yogi Bear, Michael, you can go. Go ahead, Yogi.
Hey, Mr. Rob Cunningham. It's the first time I've
Yogi,
saw you.
how are you, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So, this is more of not of a question, but this is more of a some people are asking questions. They keep talking about April 2nd, right? And Trump saying Liberation Day. But a lot of people don't, if history repeats itself and we are going through reconstitution, and Trump seems to do a lot of things on anniversaries of revolutionary historical moments.
Yes,
One
he
of the
does.
last ones he
Yes, he
did
does.
was one of the last ones he did was the whole Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. But did you know on April 2nd of 1792 was when the US Mint and Coinage Act was passed?
I don't believe in coincidences, so yeah.
I don't believe in coincidences. So I uh I just thought that was an interesting fact, and everybody, oh look, all the hands start going up. Yeah. But that is probably what is going to happen. So that's just my take, and I'll get back with you guys here shortly.
Yeah, and to that point, for everyone to draw the corollary between what's happening today and the Coinage Act and the significance of what Trump is talking about Liberation Day on April the 2nd. I mean, the central bank that that print money out of thin air, and as the El Salvador or I'm sorry, the Venezuelan president talks about, it's on my timeline. Everybody's heard him, I'm sure that what we're working with is with fiat script, which is paper backed by paper. One entity, issues the paper, the Treasury, and the Federal Reserve buys the paper, and then the Federal Reserve levers up the paper, and then they charge usury interest rates on the Federal Reserve notes, and it's paper backed by paper Ponzi scheme. All of it violates the Coinage Act, which says it specifically describes who can issue this thing called money or currency, and under what exact conditions must it be issued? What are the terms and the conditions of a weight of gold or silver per each instrument of money? Full stop. It's never been invalidated, it's never been overruled or repealed, yet it's been utterly and totally ignored by the central bank cartel that was fraudulently imposed on our nation. So, to Yogi's point, if we are in fact reconstituting the republic, we're kicking out the old fraudulent monetary system and standing up our brand new global monetary system that is going to allow for interoperability and a level playing field the world over, not just America, but the whole world. Then the Coinage Act is extremely relevant because that means there's got to be a standard, a unit of account, and a medium of exchange that's recognizable the world over. It can't be the Brazilian price for an ounce of gold, or their 20 has a completely different set of measures than the China's measure and Canada's measure and Italy's measure and Dubai's measure. These currency wars are what have destabilized the world. When you manipulate the currency exchanges, you tweak your dollar exchange rates, you tweak your formula, and next thing you know, all the manufacturing in America and 77,000 manufacturing facilities shut down, go out of business, or move to China because everybody's messing around with what they call a dollar or their currency exchange rate. And so we have currency wars instead of hot wars with guns and tanks and bombs. So if we're going to have a level playing field the world over, we have to have a level recognizable unit of account, medium of exchange, and store of value where everyone agrees through ISO standards, whether it's ISO currency standards or ISO 222 digital asset standards, crypto standards. We have to have 2 + 2 = 4 in all 200 nations, or it doesn't. We can't have a level playing field unless everybody agrees 2 + 2 = 4. Period. We can't. We can't use gold as a basis to underpin our currency in Thailand and the Philippines and America and Italy unless we can all agree what the price of gold is or what those ISO calculations are. Because math is a law. The law of 2 + 2 = 4 applies in all 200 nations. An ounce of gold equaling, $4,000. $4,000 is in Thailand and Dubai and England. Math is law. We have to have a level playing field that includes level standards and level units of measure and level mediums of exchange so that we can have an ample level amount of trust. And the only way we're going to get to there is if we use a system of trustlessness, a system that doesn't require word salad or a politician flapping his lips or a trust me, bro, I'm good for it. It's got a level playing field with units of account, has to operate across a trustless system where everybody in the world can lay eyes on it and validate and prove that it actually is true. because
Amen.
because men are corruptible, men lie, men self-deal, men can be blackmailed, men and women can be perverted and twisted and put under duress, and all kinds of things can happen if you put a middleman in the process. The transparency and accountability of blockchain is agnostic to middleman influences. It is what it is. It's a master record of truth, and everybody can look to the record, look to the truth, and inspect the truth because there's no human intervention involved in ledgering events to the record.
Amen to that. Thank you, Rob. All right, Michael, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Rob your question. Go ahead, Michael. Do you have a question for Mike or Michael? Michael Smith, do you have a question for Rob? Okay, if not, Drew Middleton, your mic is unmuted. Do you have a question for Rob?
I do, and I'll try to be quick with it.
Oh, you're good. Go
So
ahead.
I started waking up, not waking up, but I've always been a Republican. I've always supported the good side, the good team, and around 2020 is when I really started waking up to the amount of fraud happening in our elections, and I just started to kind of deep dive into a lot of different things, and really I'm kind of fresh to this, about a year and a half or so into the financial stuff, the financial system. I've been paying really close attention to the debt clock, but I've also made the mistake of paying attention to Dow Jones on Google's website and different things like that. So it was I guess my understanding that we would see a crash of some sorts before the implementation of this new financial system. However, I have been corrected on that and no longer think that. I guess my question to you would be and it never seemed to me to be this way, but this seems like we're doing all of this in unison with the archaic debt slavery system, and it seems like everything is being implemented kind of behind the scenes. I too look forward to Liberation Day, which is being said that it's going to be April 2nd, so on and so forth. I wish they wouldn't put dates on things because I'm struggling severely with patience. And as I have a family of six, we're just struggling severely right now to try and make it within this matrix and pay our bills, keep rent paid, and all these other things. So we are heavily invested in silver and XRP and ready to jump ship. Um, as soon as God starts flipping some tables. And I'm trying to work on my patience and things of that nature in the meantime with my relationship with God. So is that something, do I have that right? I was expecting a crash, and I'm told now to no longer expect that these things are being implemented in real time, kind of with the archaic financial system, and it's going to look somewhat like a flip of the switch into this new USA Treasury dollar, et cetera, et cetera. Is that correct?
Well, look, we all get to process, you know, words and meaning and flip of the switch and crash and turbulence and disruption, and these are all kinds of terms that are out there where people are trying to find the words to describe the transition. How do we move over? Trump himself has said it could get bumpy. These tariffs, the markets are getting spooked. I mean, the people that are responsible for starting the fire and putting the $37 trillion of debt and having this system become unmanageable and undecipherable and just godless have got to blame somebody. They're not going to take responsibility for doing what they've done or using the system or benefiting from the system. So it's got to be Trump. It's got to be the dislocation from one system to the next, and fear, 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 fear. The merchants of fear are the propaganda arms of the media. So I think I love to hear that you've resolved yourself to understand it. It's not necessary that there has to be a crash. If you think of Trump with his years of architectural acumen and being a business developer and a real estate developer and all the things that he's done in his life, builders don't go into a place and blow up two cities or knock them down and then cross their arms and go, huh, shit, I wonder what we should put here now. Wonder what we should build in its place. If they're gonna go through a process of taking a structure down. They've already got a well-designed and approved and plan in place for what they're replacing the old system with. Oftentimes they're ready to go, or they're just getting rid of one system and flipping the lights on and going, oh, while you were all looking at this system, look over here. Just 3 miles away is a whole brand new city and a whole brand new 9 million square foot. You didn't even see me building that over there, did you? Well, that old system over there, we're not using that anymore. That's mothballed. Look over here though. And it doesn't necessarily require chaos and explosion and disruption and, you know, anarchy. If you've got to understand that a president of the United States or a commander in chief that is helping us escape the prison camp and the Federal Reserve jail masters wants to do it as quickly as possible with as minimal loss of life as possible, and also wants to do it where the transition from the old system to the new system doesn't lead to chaos, anarchy, or civil war. So I'm going to give them credit that here we are at this stage in a bankrupt Federal Reserve that's losing its mind, that we're transitioning to a whole new reconstituted republic. We're going to have new monetary systems, new treasury policies, new tariffs, lower taxes if no taxes. We're getting rid of the Green New Deal. I mean, I put a list of all the things that are happening right now. The foreign aid is being cut. The federal staffing is being cut. Fraud and waste is being cut. The NGOs are being eliminated and cut. The military sprawl and foreign wars and entanglements is being cut and stopped. Interest rates are being cut and coming down. Uh, New tariffs are going to drive revenue into the United States. New energy production. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to drive oil prices down, which is money in our pocket and revenue into the country because we're going to start becoming a net producer and seller of energy. New manufacturing, jobs, we're going to onshore like crazy. Companies are spending trillions, committing trillions of dollars to reshoring and onshoring new manufacturing, which is going to create new jobs and new wage growth. We've got the new immigration green card, the gold card, where people are going to have to, if they want to pay $5 million and invest in the country and in America, they're estimating that's going to be more than $1 trillion in revenue just on the immigration card. This money supply debasement, where they just keep printing money into oblivion. The Federal Reserve clicks a keyboard and adds money, which in essence, inflation is theft. When they inflate the currency supply, it makes the dollars that we have that were worth X worth less than X because they just added more money by just ginning up the printing press in violation of everything constitutional. So that theft by inflation is going to go away. Uh, Taxation is going to get cut. Regulations are going to get cut. The financial system friction is going to get cut. You know, just think of the government being the biggest horsepower engine and spender and writer of checks or making payments, 25% of the world's GDP. What if spending money and sending money and generating 7 or 8% average cost for that's what the estimates had been. I had read before that the overall all-in cost of moving around the world, moving money around the world was some insane number. When you add in all the people, all the employees, all the overhead, all the layers of security and the servers and the software and the upgrades and the marketing, all of the cost of fees and friction and usury and operational cost, it was anywhere from 6 to 8% every time you move money from point A to point B. What happens if that drops down to less than a percent or less than a penny? What happens if you gut all of that cost out of the friction engine, the financial engine of America? How much savings is that? So, and then lastly, illegal immigration. How many people are over here non-producing but are takers? Education, healthcare, housing, food, subsidies, cell phone, crime, whatever when you get non-productive, illegal people that are takers and aren't here for any reason other than to, be taken care of, that's about 15 on that list that I just took off the top of my head. Is that going to help America grow? Is that going to help us get back and get to 3 or 4%, growth rate, and with a much lower cost basis to operate this country in sound money? And we're not this Green New Deal scam, this DEI scam. How about college education for free for anybody in the world? Anybody that's an American, I'm sorry, free education, a 4-year college degree called the American Academy. The finest instructional content in lessons, uh, lectures, learning labs, access to one of the finest 4-year degrees the brightest minds in America can come up with. And the tuition will cost zero for every person in America. What's that going to do to the cost of college education and the business model of these elite institutions where we got to pay 40, 50, 60, 80, $100,000 a year to send our kids to go be brainwashed into hating America with a bunch of woke ideology? What is that going to do for the next 100 years when we have the most unbelievably constructed and respected educational platform that just becomes an entitlement of being a citizen of America? And you don't have to. I mean, that blows my mind. That one gets me really excited.
Thank you, Rob. Real quickly, everybody, I've got time for probably maybe one more question. I've got to get ready for my other show with John Baxter. So, Drew, did that answer your question? Your mic's muted. Hang on, I sent you a mic. Did that answer your question, Drew? Are you there, Drew? Hello.
Yes, sorry. It was kind of cutting out while you were connecting me. I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to take too much time. I just had another
Oh,
question that
you're good. Go ahead.
came to mind, and I have a couple of buddies who are on another level as far as just being smart is concerned. Um, I would like to ask on April 2nd, we're calling that Liberation Day. I have my own um, projections on what I think might happen that day. It aligns with a lot of what you guys have talked about here in this space. However, I don't think I heard anybody talk about the revaluation of foreign currency. Is that something that could possibly take place as well, or is that something that takes place with the revaluation of metals, precious metals, and things like that? Just hadn't heard anybody talk about foreign currencies as well.
Yes, in a very quick answer, they're all tied together. Okay, so what is price of gold and silver? What are the valuations for these debased currencies where they need to be brought back into line because they were perverted by the SWIFT system, the monetary system, and the central bankers because Iraq wasn't a good boy and girl, so we're going to obliterate their currency. If we're going to have a level playing field, we have to level the playing field, and that is going to include some adjustments, I believe, somehow or another, in precious metals and in currencies before we flip on the switch in XRP and XLM and all the we really start going full speed into a new kind of advanced financial system. But the order, the sequence, and the timing would be. I'm not Nostradamus. I wish I could tell you that that's going to all be announced.
Oh, please don't tell
Yeah,
me.
I don't want to set any expectations because I don't know. And trust me, I have my best person in my life, my wife, my soulmate that I've lived with. If I hear once a day, I hear it 6 times a day. When?
Yeah.
We're all
Yes.
struggling with the impatience thing. I get it. I get it. I get it. It's taken us 112 years to get dumbed down, to be put into this state of hypnotic, propagandized funk and ignorance. What does the scripture say? My
Yes.
people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge. We don't know we didn't know whose we were or who we are. We didn't understand the laws. We did the religious ritual thing, but we didn't really have the way in our mind and our heart. We weren't lost. We weren't professors of the law, the real laws, capital L, not this fictional BS law that's financed by the bankers that enslave us all in their regulatory hellbox. I'm talking about timeless, immutable, indestructible laws of the way. We haven't been taught that because they can't control us. If we all know that, We have to go to the courtrooms and the baristas and obey all the rules and all the kind of crap that they've constructed to enslave us instead of understanding the laws that free us. They can't have us learning that.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Drew. All right. Bama, 1776. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hey, Rob, just wanted to say thank you. About 5 years ago, I was in a chat on Telegram with you, and you pushed me to buy XRP. And then just for everybody else, if you guys could say a prayer for my mother, she is got stage 4 cancer and was diagnosed last week, so that would be greatly appreciated.
Well, brother, we will definitely send a prayer. We will definitely hope that you can find some amazing people that can arrest that cancer and don't look to the system. I would just say be very aggressive in not looking into the system of food and drugs and medicine and wizards of smart, and try to look for people that know how to quote unquote unconventionally look at, address, and attack these things that are supposedly, you know, death sentences. Um, what's funny, the people that profit off of getting us sick and then watching us and then fixing the sickness that they created in the food and in the drugs and in the wizards of smart. I hope and I pray that your eyes will be open and that your attitude will become aggressive in finding people that know what cancer is and have alternate ways to address it without going to the very systems that profit off of the quote unquote management of the cancer. That would be my hope for you, brother.
Thank you, man. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, Bama, 1776. And God bless you and your family, and prayers to your mom. And with that, everybody, I've got to get ready for my other show with John Baxter, Anti-Aging MedBed. So if you guys want to check it out over on Telegram. It will be another live Q&A like this. And you guys can ask him any questions you may have if you guys are looking for alternative healing, different options, where you may be feeling no hope. Come over and listen to John. He's giving hope and encouragement to a lot of people, and the testimonials are absolutely amazing because there's a lot of misdiagnoses and overdiagnoses happening out there, and John is helping out with so many people. So, Rob, once again, thank you for a great show, and we'll get you back on here hopefully in the next couple weeks as your schedule permits.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I always enjoy your audience. Everybody asks such great questions, and I'm blessed and grateful to invite me on. And thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome, sweetie. We'll get you back on in 2 weeks, and then everybody watch for the show lineups. I've got Alpha Warrior. He's going to be on here on X on Friday, 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. Rubber Duck will be on Friday as well. He will be live over on Telegram because I know Field McConnell wants to come in and listen to him. So come check us out, everybody. I do put out the show lineups, and you guys can have those at your hands so you guys know when I'm going to have shows. So with that, everybody, God bless you. Thank you for being
Jenny,
here.
thank you so much for having me. Everybody go to Jenny's account, top right. There's a bell, a prompt. It'll give you a prompt to let her know when she's having her spaces. Rob, thank you for coming in here. You're a wealth of knowledge, and thank you, Jenny, for giving us this platform, your spaces to give out this information. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And hi to everybody out there. Thank you.
Always. Thank you, Santino. He is one of my co-hosts. I appreciate your help. And again, everybody, if you can listen to the replay, we are being listened to in over 100 countries. If you didn't catch it here, I will be uploading it to my Rumble account and all the podcast hosts, which we're not hard to find. We're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. We're everywhere. So check us out, everybody, if you haven't already. And we will talk to you soon. Silk will be over here later this evening on X Spaces at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want a good laugh, she is a hoot. I absolutely adore her. So we'll see you guys then, and have a great rest of your day, everybody. God bless.